German soldiers just had a bite of bread, but the next second, the original quiet table began to shake, followed by tens of thousands of mice coming out of the ground. Only then did he realize the seriousness of the situation, so he immediately ran out of the tent. But when he looked up, the scene in front of him made him unable to calm down. He could only see the battlefield full of agriculture. A giant iron Gouda came out of nowhere, and it was the first time in the world that he had used a tank on the battlefield. At this moment, the old soldier found something wrong. Although they were trying to attack, but in front of the beast that day, he was in a state of disarray. There was nothing he could do. He could only watch him tearing everything around him on the battlefield. However, the soldiers, who had no time to retreat, were mercilessly crushed by the tank. At this moment, the scene was in chaos. Many soldiers rushed to the front of the tank, but under the suction of powerful weapons, they were burned to death under the gunfire. However, at this moment, an old soldier took a grenade and put it on his tie. Then, he forced a grenade into the gun hole, and the driver was blown out of the cabin. But he was too happy to see the enemy's flame soldiers firing at the soldiers in the warehouse, and those who had not yet escaped had to sacrifice with pain. Although they tried their best to fight back, but because the number of enemies was on the rise, they could only retreat quickly with bullets. But before they could run far enough, a grenade fell on the ground. In an instant, he was blown a few meters away. When he regained consciousness, he saw his comrades surrounded by enemies. Although he put down his gun and knelt down to beg for mercy, he still didn't get the result he wanted. At this moment, he really realized the cruelty of war. As the enemies continued to attack, they were like ants on a hot pan, struggling to death. But the worst thing was that the enemy's fighters also rushed in. Logan was frightened and lost his balance and fell into the water pit. When he climbed up, he found that the enemy had caught up with him. He had the worst plan and quickly pulled out the dagger. He thought he could avoid being discovered by the enemy, but when he turned around, the enemy's gun was pointing at him.